My name is Phil Hyotis. I am in Sacred Love, and I am playing a show here at the Death Church.
Okay, so what's up with the border and bakeries?
We just had a little issue with your fine country getting in here. We're supposed to play in St. Catharines, which is just outside of Toronto, and we were playing a bakery, and apparently you can't do that in this country because it's not a real music. The funny thing is they didn't let us in because of the legitimacy of our show. It's not a legitimate show to them, so they're like, why the fuck would you want to play a bakery? You can't do that. And I tried to explain like it was, on the outside. It was not in the bakery, in the basement, separate from it. Like totally different thing, not in the establishment, but they didn't want to listen, and so they kind of fucked us over. Like we kind of had a long drive today, lost some money, but
So, where did you guys sleep and shit like that?
We just crashed in Michigan.
Okay.
We stayed in Dearborn. Like that's where we played the day before, so we just went right back.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was very nice.
So what's your take on this scene? And I know you see the segmentation and the whole. Are you trying to? How do you see that? How do you?
Well, I guess I do kind of see it because I think if I took it for what I had, I wouldn't even be in hardcore anymore. I enjoy live music.
Okay.
And I enjoy booking. I don't enjoy booking shows, but I just book shows because I have to. I enjoy the responsibility of being a member, and I enjoy the community somewhat, and but yeah, it has its issues. Is hardcore still sexist? Yes. Is it still homophobic? Yes. Is it still segregated? Yes, completely.
Yeah.
And I don't see any. I see a lot of talk, but I honestly like we talked about racism last time.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny because on the way to This Is Hardcore, I went down with my buddy Andy in Praise, and we were talking about this because I actually just wrote for a zine about the very same thing, about homophobia and hardcore. And we talked about racism last time we did the interview, and I feel that racism is such a is like my rule. The rule of hardcore is racism is faux pas, but that is it. Everything else, fair game, but racism, you better not say nigger or anything like that. You're gonna get the shit beat out of you, which is fine. It's a good rule,
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've come to the conclusion. Again, this is just my theory. This is just I'm kind of a read between the lines kind of guy. So this is complete interpretation.
Yeah.
I think racism is faux pas only because you can't really hide it. You can't hide racism like you can hide your sexuality, and that's why hardcore is so homophobic and stuff like that. Because just look at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was the fucking bee's knees in hardcore for the last couple the last couple years, and it's only become sort of faux pas now. I don't know what cool guys said we shouldn't eat here anymore, but it was it's total homophobia. You're taking an issue. The issue. Chick-fil-A gives millions of dollars to stop gay marriage from happening in the United States. The issue, and you still eat there. And that shows that you value someone else's issues over. You don't respect the issues of a gay person next to a black person, when it's all human rights.
Yeah.
And that's just that's the most bum out thing to me. Because I legitimately I think we're playing in Philly, and I was hanging out with a couple friends, and this guy had a Chick-fil-A tattoo. And I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. I was just like, hey man, why do you have that tattoo? We go, I just like Chick-fil-A, and I would be like, don't you know that they donate millions of dollars, blah blah blah. And it always boils down to this. I do know that. I don't care. I just like how it tastes.
Yeah.
And to me, apathy towards an issue is just as bad as being against the issue, as being homophobic or racist. Because you're not helping anything. You're just supporting your money. Your money is going right to the cause. You know where it's going. And to me, that's kind of stuff like that is just what really upsets me. Racism, yeah, like I said, you can't hide racism. That's why it's so faux pas. Everyone is accepted and stuff like that. But you can hide your sexuality. If I was gay, I would never fucking come out in a hardcore crowd, because it's I don't really feel comfortable there now. I don't really feel connected, anything like that. But I just know that's a part of growing up. And, I find other things I like. I enjoy booking shows that people like to do, that people like to see and stuff like that. I enjoy doing that. I may not connect to every other band. It's popular nowadays, but.
Example, you said they're talking about racism and sexuality. In the hardcore scene, you can't even say I'm anti-military or I'm anti-US.
I've been trying to do the tragedy set. Yeah. I'm sure you're just who supports the troops. Fuck the troops. Just I've been kind of kidding around this set on this tour.
Yeah.
I haven't really been speaking on any issue. I've just been kind of being a goofball.
Yeah.
And I realize it is because of my discrepancies. I feel that because I speak my mind, I'm made fun of and stuff like that. And 99% of me does not give a shit like when anyone cares. But this is what I consider my peers and stuff like that. This is where I feel I should belong, and like I would be lying if I told you didn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
So I did like an experimentation, a local I stopped speaking from the heart and I just started being an asshole. I would literally go around the room and make fun of everyone. And everyone seems to like that guy, and not like the guy who has something really heartfelt to say. So you know what? I guess people just like the fucking jag-off who has nothing to say.
Yeah. Well, that's also because it's so easy to hate and to shit on people, and when you heartfelt and you feel something, it's like it's so hard. People can't even deal with that. And their defense is to knock it off. Like to do like the asshole and the jerk and the stuff, and then people respond to that. If you look at hardcore, it's all a fucking front for being tough. When, to me, I've met, in the past 5 years, 99% of all hardcore bands. And, to me, I don't think they are tough. I think they're all very sensitive people. Yeah. Even the most hardened, quote-unquote, thugs are very sensitive people, but...
I think they're more sensitive than anything because they take everything so personally, and that's what makes that hard exterior.
Yeah.
They're ready to fight at any moment. It's all down to being really sensitive and not being able to that's the thing. It's just I actually think that sensitivity in hardcore is kind of what sort of hurts it, because you can't even give good criticism about things anymore. I'm not talking about talking shit oh yeah, this guy's a fucking thug and he sucks and blah blah blah. I'm talking about real criticism where this demo was solid. Could use a little bit more of this or this, and people take that as talking shit. But it's I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm just trying to, be critical, to help improvement.
And, but hardcore was renowned in the past for shit talking like that, like quote unquote shit talking.
Yeah.
You express your opinion straight up. People. There's always beef. Of course, that has diverted into the message board. Mm-hmm. Where now, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but nobody seems to be feuding with anybody. Nobody seems to be talking. You know what I mean?
I think there are a lot.
I'm not
of
saying
feuds.
people should fucking start fighting.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of feuds though, and I've come up with the theories because going back, I think everyone is such a nervous wreck and has sex with everyone else, and eventually it just becomes awkward. So you break off into the people you don't have sex with, and eventually you have sex with them, and then that's when there's just no hardcore scene anymore.
Yeah.
I've seen that slowly happen. So I don't know. I don't really fuck with the internet hardcore wise anymore. I love the internet. I use it all the time at work. But with hardcore, it's just I know what I like. I know what I am, and I know who I'm not, and I'm just not this guy. I could tell you a time when I was years, I guess when I was first getting it, when I thought I had to be that Bridge 9 guy, to be accepted in hardcore, to be that guy, and it's just not gonna. That's not me. I'm never gonna be that guy. I'm way too socially awkward to do that, especially on the internet.
Okay, so now the Bridge 9 guy, who's the new guy that Kiss coming up look up to now? Who's the new guy to be?
I would say
because I think B9 guy is over, right?
Bridge 9 is obviously, not talking shit, Chris. Bridge 9 doesn't really have, I feel it doesn't have a hold on hardcore anymore. They try to branch off and be I feel like they try to be more than just a hardcore label, and maybe kind of backfired. I read an interview where he was talking about sort of how that Crime in Stereo, that last one, kind of just kind of crippled them for a year, and they kind of had to go back. I think other than Foundation and things like that, I don't know of a staple hardcore band on it of my generation. Of a Have Heart or of a Champion or of an American Nightmare, No Warning. I bet you got excited when I said
there
No
you
Warning.
Go.
But
you mentioned them. That's good enough for me.
Another kind of definitely Reaper Records. The Reaper Crew. That's what everyone. Those are the cool guys for sure.
Yeah.
And that's who the guys are looking up to. So for sure.
But Reaper's doing it though. Regardless of what people may think, some people may, they're bringing out records. Oh
yeah, just because I may not like the majority of the music.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I think they're brainwashing people fucking They Live style, sending out signals to buy the albums. It is, they're very obviously they're a really successful label. They have the best band in hardcore right now, Chopped and Rice.
Yes.
And other band I love Take Offense. I think those two are some of my favorite bands. Yeah. But there's just also stuff that I'm just not if you know me, I'm just not into that kind of stuff, and I never was, and it just it's just how it is. I look at things a little differently now, but you know, there's definitely, I feel like there's with the cool crowd and stuff like that, there's definitely like a lack of responsibility factor of how they present themselves to younger people, and I think that's why I get a little bummed out, because like I have seen like some like really sketchy shit, you know, like I mean, we have like guys, you know, Reaper Records, like, you know, and Tara sniffing girls' butts on like, you know, on YouTube,
Yeah.
and like, you know. Like if I fucking did that, or if anyone in my band, everyone would be like, yo, this guy can never come to a show again. Like, fuck this guy, he's a sexist pig. And I understand the joke, I understand the Cameron reference. Like, I'm not a fucking moron.
Yeah.
But seriously, that is it's so hard to offend me at this point in my life. I was fucking incredibly offended, and like that's incredibly sexist. And
Yeah.
and the fact that it's just brushed over because there's those guys, it's inexcusable. You know,
Yeah.
it's another thing that kind of bums me out, that people aren't, you know, you reach a certain tier and then you're not held accountable for anything anymore.
Yeah.
And like, you know.
But you know, you mentioned that, it's funny because I recently got back into hip hop.
Yeah.
And hip hop has no, quote, as we have, where was left of it, of peer pressure, where people will step up and say, you know, that's not fucking cool. And the fact that, for example, that song goes into that, it uses that avenue, the hip hop avenue.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, you know, hardcore, I mean, you know, I also enjoy hip hop, but hardcore is not hip hop. You
That's
know,
right.
hardcore is, you know, as much as I would say, like, it's, you know, has its problems with misogynism and things like that, and homophobia, it isn't on the level where, you know, it's not on a no homo level, which I hope it would never be. You know,
Yeah.
I think I would be completely disenchanted
Yeah.
at that point. You know, like, you know, so even some of my favorite, you know, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, great, like, you know, intellectual thinkers of the game and things like that, and have so much to say, but, you know, are homophobic and things like that, and have sexist things to say.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, I hope it's not, you know, grabbing from that, because, you know, hardcore is like sort of, it's, you know, it's a punk rock, sort of like an American thing,
Yeah.
built on idealism. And like, I realize, you know, idealism, I don't consider it a bad thing. I consider it like a neutral thing. It could be good or bad.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I started wondering, it's just like, where did this idealism come from when I was 18? You know, like, you know, when you know, hardcore could save the world and shit like that, and
Yeah.
you know, I completely believed in, you know, everything, and I realized it just never was there. You know, these problems have always existed. But who are the people telling you that hardcore is this ideal thing? Is it the people fucking smelling girls' butts?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, like, yeah.
Know what you mean, but you know, also when I came into the scene, I projected more of it, what I wanted to see, than what was there.
Yeah.
And then with time, when you pull back, you realize that what you projected was your own ideas and not what it actually was there. And that's when I guess you become quote unquote jaded, or you say this is fucked up, you know. And
Well, I wouldn't say I'm jaded or
no,
anything
not
like that.
jaded, but you know what I mean. Like, but you're
I'm
like,
definitely jaded on the morality of hardcore. I firmly believe there's no morality in hardcore anymore. You know, just for, you know, for being around like the stupid things I've fucking seen. Like, there's definitely that whole morality thing of, you know, the idealism definitely does not exist. I still enjoy the music for sure. Like, that's why I'm here. I wouldn't be in a fucking hardcore band
Yeah.
if I didn't enjoy the music or if I didn't have anything to say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess this band, you know, I'm not really trying. I'd be a fool if I said, like, you know, I'm trying to change, you know, my subculture, because it's just, you know, it's more of a release to get things that are off my chest, because I'm not really the most, you know, although, you know, you may find it hard to believe in this interview, I'm not the most, like, you know, vocal person. I won't, if something's bothering me, I may not go to the source. I may have to, you know, process it, you know, really
Yeah.
think about things. But, yeah, this is my, like, my outlet to do that, like, you know, through
But
sacred
you know,
love.
it's also the aspect of it. What's good about hardcore is, to me, is that if you have an issue or a problem, whatever, you can join a band and give it your own direction.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go into like a recording studio and get into that fucking game of becoming a recording artist. You can just pick up your instrument, don't even know how to play, and start picking up whatever you feel like. And that's what I think is an amazing thing, is because it is an outlet, and it is a viable outlet to reach X amount of people without having to like go into this corporate monster and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, hardcore is totally going, you know,
Yes.
into that corporate monster. Like, you know, I deal with booking agents all the time. You know, I deal with all that shit, tour managers, things that are not necessary in hardcore, not at all. I can understand if you're a hardcore band, like, going into more of, like, you know, you're branching off, like Terror does.
Yeah.
You know, they do metal tours.
Yeah.
You would definitely need, like, you know, some management. But if you're just doing, like, a hardcore tour, why the fuck do you have laminates? It's like, I know who
Yeah.
the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Like, I marked your hand. Like, you know, this is not a big deal. But, like, I think it's like a built-in ego thing, or they want to make it seem like a big thing, and it really shouldn't be. Like, you know, DIY is not booking agents, laminates, or tour agents. So if you're doing that, if that's your goal in hardcore, like, you know, that's kind of like my issue with it, you know? It's like I got into hardcore because I hated mainstream music. I hated like the record, companies and things like that.
Yeah.
I hate because like you just read about like I was reading about Laura Nyro recently. I don't know if you know she's like a sort of like a soul singer from the '60s.
Okay.
She wrote some of my favorite songs. By the time she died, she was dying of cancer. All the songs that she wrote for herself, she completely got basically no money off of it.
Yeah.
That's like bullshit. And like that's the difference between the DIY ethic is you're doing it yourself. And therefore you won't get fucked over by other people, for a profit. There's no corporate interest in it. You can make the music you want to make.
Yeah.
And with the rise of labels that will sign like every fucking 9 bands and things like that, there is seem to be a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Just sort of like the same style, sort of like that the hardcore, what hardcore should sound like, as opposed to it should be like whatever the fuck you want it to sound like.
Yeah. I mean, there was a rise. I mean, that was huge in the '90s. And that's what set up this thing.
Yeah.
Everybody, all these labels that somehow make a living now. I mean, which is cool, whatever. But I mean, I guess it's about rebuilding. And the '80s was a reaction to the '70s, and the '90s a reaction to the '80s, and so on. And today we're like living through a reaction to the '90s. And we know. I wonder what the people are going to say about us in 10 years from now.
I wonder that as well.
This basement show shit. What the fuck is that all about, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure. I'm not trying to be too negative or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just I call them like I try to call it like I see it, and I feel that I'm pretty unbiased. Like I have friends like the people I talk about like and things like that. Like, I fucked up too. I say stupid things all the time, but I expect to be called out on it and things like that. So I mean. I just feel there's no real accountability anymore. Like when you reach a certain level, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and no one holds you accountable. And then that really leaves you in a closed-in circle. Like that's for real. Like I would say like 99% of these bands, outside of the the few that'll branch off, like hardcore is not like something you can retire on. Like Agnostic Front probably never gonna retire. Like unless you reach that sort of like hate breed level.
Yeah.
You're not gonna retire off it. So you're sort of you're in this closed-in bubble where everyone is saying yes to you and agreeing with you, thinks you're the fucking life of the party. And then you're gonna be like 45 and you're gonna turn to fucking Rick to life. Pretty much. You're gonna be fucking crazy person selling shit at a flea market, trying to sell like a Vanishing Point CD for $30.
Yeah.
So.
No,
I just see it for what it is, and I mean maybe I have the privilege because I can sort of take a step back because I have sort of more going for me in different areas of life. Some people like legitimately hardcore, maybe their poverty level. This may be the only thing they're only out to travel and things like that. But of course, like the most people come from where I came from, where I'm borrowing money from my parents as soon as I get back because I found out how to pay like what's the word? I have to pay double my rent for insurance or something like that. I'm kind of blanking. I had a long drive.
Okay.
So, I'm going to borrow money from my parents and pay them back. So, it's a deposit, yeah. So, I think a lot of people come from that. But the difference is I don't put up the front. Like, I know where I came from. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to, like, talk about life in the suburbs.
Yeah.
The life of opportunity that I've had. Because my fucking, I've had so much opportunity. Especially, like, there's times where I almost flunked out of college and shit like that. And, like, my parents had to bail me out. So, I don't push that back. I embrace it. I know where I came from. And I use that to sort of better myself, but
no, I understand. I mean, and I think that's what's cool is like people who claim that hardcore's in the street. Hardcore is a middle class movement from suburbs.
I mean,
yeah,
exactly.
From the American hardcore scene, that's what hardcore is.
Definitely minor. Like all the like Ian MacKaye and like all the Minor Threat guys, the Georgetown punks came from pretty good families. New York hardcore and like Baltimore definitely came from the from a hard like gut instinct and next step up. Definitely had a different upbringing than I did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not trying to be those guys.
Yeah.
Like I love their band, but like I'm not trying to be them.
Okay, now we're gonna ask you. This is the first question I ask you. Politically, what are you thinking of? What's going on? I know the state is fucking.
Well, I mean,
rape. Thing about rape. I mean, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I have.
Shit like that.
But I mean, what do people like expect at this point? We I have to break my life down into different things. There's the hardcore outlet, my issues, when I'm thinking about hardcore, which we just discussed. There's my personal life, which is like, that's shitty to say, it's all about money and like making ends meet and things like that. And also, just like, trying to make fulfilling relationships with people, which is very hard for me to do. Politically, like, the thing, things about abortion in the United States, of course, but like, I was actually reading on the way up about what was happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
And my biggest problem this week is that I couldn't get into Canada. And I may have lost out on a couple $100, that I'll have to pay to, pay back, take a loan, things like that. But you truly, feel suburban when you read about things like what's happening in South Africa. People fighting for like just a little bit of the pie and getting fucking gunned down. That's so it really puts things in perspective. Politically, just care about my friends and my family. No, I'm just fucking. That's all. I just wanted to say that.
Shout out to your crew.
Yeah, the Ride Dogs pit crew.
Okay, there's the senator that said that women have a defense mechanism
To stop rape.
What the fuck
Obviously,
is that?
you can see how much he pleases his wife. You see how many children. This guy is like a closet case if I've ever heard of one before. Like that's like you take it for what it is. These are uneducated people. But the thing is like they're elected.
Yes.
They are the representation of the people of America. So it's just like George Carlin had a great quote. Being like, politicians don't come from like some sort of politician planet. They come from American schools, and American homes, and American churches.
Yeah.
This is the representation of like us in whole.
Yeah.
So, like there's definitely a change coming. You see like everyone's jumping on the gay rights bandwagon now, which is great. Like it's a long time coming. But there's always going to be deficits and things like that. There's always going to be faults. So what can you do besides let the time pass and things like that? You take to the fucking streets and you let them know what the fuck is up.
Yeah.
Like that's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard in a while. It's pretty good. You can see how much he gets laid though, so it's pretty fun.
Okay, so let's talk about your band. What's up with you guys recording wise, and what's up with you guys touring wise?
We're kind of busy with personal things, and Dan's in a lot of bands. So
What is it, like 6 bands or something?
he's in Mindset, he's in Turnstile, Praise, Peace. He's in a new band called Angel Dust with Justice from Trapped Under Ice. It's pretty cool. I'm sure I'm missing one or two.
He just told you about them.
Yeah, he's gonna spring it out. Like, oh, by the way, I can't do this show because I'm touring with this band.
Backstabber.
Backstabber.
Right, he's probably
Or,
Backstabber.
So we're writing, we're gonna do some weekends. This tour's been kind of, it's definitely been a challenge. I've never been this stressed about money. Also, I think the planning of it was just, not a good time. So I think we're gonna definitely have to take a step back and, just do more weekends so we can, get ourselves economically situated and just have this full length written. And, I'm ample ready to write lyrics. I'm so ready, but, I'm just waiting on, I don't write the music. So, I'm just waiting. We're almost done, so it should be hopefully by the spring.
Very cool.
And yeah.
And then lastly, a shout out to your thugs out there.
My thugs?
Or whatever last words you have to
God,
say.
I just wish I could let the van work. Last word, I'll shout out In Between. That's a new band from Baltimore. They're fucking awesome. They have a new 7-inch coming out. And I would just stress again, for people who want to be political, being political is such a weird thing nowadays. People think like reposting an article on Facebook, that's like a political thing. It's like a guy passing out a pita paper. It doesn't make you political. I would say read every side of the story and make up your own opinion. Because I'm gonna have to tell a story to extend this interview.
Sure.
Get my FaceTime
That's
on.
right.
I recently did the most unhardcore thing, and I focused the last year of my college on the Old Testament, on the Bible, and I wrote and published a paper about it in a journal, in English Literary Review, and through talking through that, I've realized that people I did a discussion. It wasn't a debate in my hometown about gay marriage, because. They're like the anti-gay marriage people are doing pretty much like these these town home meetings, trying to get people on their side. And I guess it was a really liberal Lutheran church. They said you need someone from the other side. So they contacted my professor, and she was like, I'm not gonna fucking do that. Like I'll just get Phil to do that, So get me a gig. And what I realized from doing that is people just from a Bible standpoint have not read the Bible.
Of course.
So they've just been told what the Bible's about, and taking that example and expanding it to things in hardcore and everything else. Interpretation doesn't work that way. You don't need gurus for anything. Everything is written in English for you to read. And I would say take the opportunity, take your situation in life. Like, we're not being fucking gunned down, fighting for, have like a minimal wage or anything like that.
Yeah.
Take the opportunity you have and open your mind and like interpret. Like, get in there. Like, know what the fuck is going on in the world outside of hardcore, even though that's pretty much what we talked about today. But I would say that, and check out In Between.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.